Today, I'm covering a case that I simply could not ignore. I must warn you once again, if you react strongly to stories of horrific injustice and terror, it is better not to watch this video. For everyone else, welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving into a story that shook the world. Let me introduce you to a girl named Junko Furuta. She was described as a model teenager. She didn't smoke or drink. She was an excellent student, and she worked as a part-time waitress after school. Junko was loved by everyone for her kind nature and hard work. She lived in Misato, a small town near Tokyo. Then there was Nobuharu Minato. He lived just 15 minutes away and was the complete opposite of Junko. He was a local delinquent who frequently harassed girls in the park with his friends. His friend, Hiroshi Miyano, was a classmate of Junko's. He was infatuated with her, but she had always rejected his advances. Unlike others, she was not impressed by his claims of being connected to the Yakuza. In fact, it terrified her. On the 25th of November, 1988, Hiroshi saw her in the park and incited Nobuharu and two other friends to seek revenge for her rejection. This was Junko's usual route home from work. They put a calculated plan into motion. Nobuharu Minato kicked Furuta's bicycle as she rode past. As she fell, Hiroshi stepped in, pretending to help her up. He nobly offered to take her home, and in her state of confusion, she accepted. It was a fatal mistake. Instead of taking her home, he took her to an abandoned warehouse. Once inside, he threatened to kill Junko and her entire family if she made a sound, once again using his alleged Yakuza ties to silence her before assaulting her. Later, they took her to Nobuharu's house, where she was subjected to a brutal group assault on the very first night. To prevent her family from searching for her, they forced her to call her parents 3 times to say she had run away to a friend's house. Minato's parents initially suspected nothing, believing her to be his girlfriend. In reality, Junko was held prisoner in that house for the next 44 days. The parents eventually realized something was wrong, but they were so terrified of the Yakuza threats made by their own son that they chose to close their eyes to the horror happening under their roof. For 44 days, Junko Furuta lived through a literal hell. She was systematically abused and tortured by a revolving door of up to 12 people a day. The captors filmed their crimes and showed them to acquaintances, yet no one tried to stop them. The torture methods were inhumane. She was beaten like a punching bag, burned with lighters and wax, and subjected to horrific physical violations. She was starved, forced to consume insects, and at one point, her body began to deteriorate so severely that the captors began to lose interest. There were chances for a rescue. A witness who had been invited to the house told his family, who then contacted the police. Officers actually came to the Minato house, but the parents convinced them that nothing was wrong. The police left without a search. Junko herself once managed to reach a phone to call for help, but she was caught before she could speak. As punishment for the escape attempt, they set her feet on fire. Despite her parents having filed a missing person report, the police action was tragically ineffective. On the 4th of January 1989, one of the young men, enraged over losing money in a game of mahjong, vented his anger on Junko with a final brutal attack. Her suffering finally ended. To cover their tracks, the group wrapped her body in a blanket, placed it in a suitcase, and then into a metal drum, which they filled with concrete. They left the 300-kilogram barrel on a vacant lot at a construction site, confident they would never be caught. 2 weeks passed as if nothing had happened. The teenagers went about their lives until Hiroshi Miyano and Joe Ogura were detained for a separate assault. While at the station, Hiroshi overheard police discussing an unsolved murder. Fearing they were talking about Junko, he panicked and confessed everything, revealing the location of the body. If not for that accidental confession, Junko Furuta might still be considered a missing person to this day. Because the perpetrators were under the age of 20, they were processed under juvenile law, a fact that remains one of the most controversial aspects of this case.